BBC Radio Jersey website and click on Listen.
Now then, Alex Fisher is a high-flying lawyer close to making partner in a city law firm and busy planning her perfect wedding to her musician boyfriend, Elliot. When a new deal comes up at work, the sale of a high-profile cosmetic surgery business, Alex jumps at the chance to prove she has what it takes to become a partner. And so starts the book, Never Mind the Botox, mixing business with pleasure.
Well, City girls Penny Avis and Jo Berry both took career breaks to write the book, but enjoyed it so much they've now written 3 further titles, all in Never Mind the Botox series. So to tell us a little bit more, Penny and Jo join us now. Hello, both.
Hello.
Good morning.
How are you today?
We're great, thank you.
Good. Jo, first of all, I understand you have some Jersey connections, is that right?
I do. I have an uncle who lives in St Lawrence and a cousin and his wife and children, and I spent all my sort of young years coming to Jersey on holiday every summer, so I know the island very well.
Oh, what sorts of things did you used to do over summer?
We spent most of our time on St Brellard's Beach playing cricket, actually.
Oh, very nice.
We used to visit the Pottery and Fort Regent, I think. We used to go on rainy days. So, yes, lots of fun memories.
It used to rain, surely not.
Very occasionally.
Those summer holidays that you remember when you were a youngster, they were just sunny the whole time, mostly, weren't they?
So just clarify which of the 4 books came first and which is the last, because I was getting a bit confused yesterday.
Well, it is a series, you're quite right, but you can read them in any order.
Right.
You're looking at a central deal, which, as you said, was the sale of a cosmetic surgery business, but from 4 different angles. So it's 4 women. They're all professionals. The first one is Alex, as you said, who is a lawyer. The second book, which is out later this year, is Rachel, and she's a corporate financier. And then next year you'll see the deal through the eyes of a cosmetic surgeon called Stella and a banker called Meredith. So you can pick them up and read them in any order. But in terms of our timetable, the first book out is Alex.
So how did you two come together to sort of dream up these stories?
Well, Joanna and I have been friends for many years now, about 15 years, and a couple of years ago I took a career break from the city at Deloitte, and we were having a Sunday lunch, and I was chatting about what I might do on my career break, and I sort of said, I think I might write a book, something to do with the city and all those funny stories and things that have happened to women, particularly in our careers. And Jo said, sort of just by chance, she'd had the idea of a book about 10 years ago about a lawyer who worked on a deal, and the sort of idea started from there, really.
And what about the cosmetic surgery theme? How did that sort of weave its way in?
Well, we always knew we wanted to have a backdrop about a business being sold, and we sort of talked about the different businesses that would be interesting, and we just thought, God, a cosmetic surgery business, how fascinating, with the people find it really interesting, and that you can make the jeopardy and the deal really fascinating, and people could see behind the scenes in a world that, clearly takes a lot of media coverage, but to see it in a completely different way.
So have you had any yourself in the research process, or how have you researched it?
Are we allowed to ask that question?
Sure. I just did.
Yes. No, neither of us went under the knife for our art, but we did do a lot of research. We did obvious stuff online, which was quite interesting, finding out about shocking surgeries and surgeries gone wrong. And also we talked to doctors. I spent some time with a doctor who does plastic surgery for the NHS, and had a rather gruesome conversation where she talked me through how you do a breast augmentation operation. So, yes, we did lots of research.
I think also what we found is that there was so many stories on both sides. There was some brilliant stories about people who'd had cosmetic surgery and it had really improved their confidence and had changed their lives and had been very successful. And we certainly found plenty of that, but we also found the road was sort of littered with disaster stories as well. So it was a real journey to see both sides of the coin.
And a huge amount of people in Britain would like to have some form of procedure if they could afford it, couldn't they?
That's absolutely right. One of the latest findings, actually, from the cosmetic surgery research is that about 2 or 3% of women in the country have had a procedure. So that's a sort of an invasive procedure rather than Botox or one of those things. But about 45% say that they're considering it. And if there's any type of conversion of that level of sort of 2 to 3% up to 40%, there's going to be a cosmetic surgery explosion over the next 10 years, such that more people will have had cosmetic surgery than own Sky.
Yeah, I mean, do you think because it will become more readily available or accessible, that prices are going to go down? It will be like having your fringe trimmed.
I think that's an inevitable conclusion if the market does expand in the way Penny suggested it might.
Let's have a look. You mentioned there, I mean, there are some horror stories out there, and I imagine, as you say, if you hit the internet, you know, you can fall foul of all sorts of things. We were looking at some of them. I mean, toe tucks. Just explain to us what a toe tuck is. I mean, that makes my toes curl just thinking about it.
I know that was quite new.
Makes your toes tuck under, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've got my own now.
It is quite an astonishing surgery, actually, and there's actually quite a few things on the Tobesity shopping list, as you might call it.
Obesity.
Yeah, there's you can have the second toe shortened to make your toes a more perfect arc shape. You can have your little toe narrowed so that you can fit into designer sandals. That's quite common coming over from the States. You can have surgery and Botox into the under side of your foot so that your feet don't ache so much in high heels.
Or make my eyes water thinking about it.
I know, but all of them are quite serious orthopaedic operations. You know, just like having bunions treated or something like that. You're on plaster for a long time, and you know, you can't drive and you can't walk for a certain time, and it takes, you know, quite a lot of recovery. So it's quite a serious operation for people to think about.
I remember a couple of years ago we spoke with an author of a book who he documented the most extreme surgeries that had ever taken place around the world, and really strange things, like there was a woman who spent £300,000 wanting to look exactly like Jennifer Aniston, and some other very strange things as well. Do you think in the UK we've kind of got it in perspective a bit more?
I think we have. I mean, one of the things we did when we were researching the Nevermind the Botox book was we wanted to look at what was the norm, and we found that attitudes for older women, perhaps in their sort of 30s and 40s, is very much still that they're interested in it, they like reading about it, and they're quite fascinated, but it's not yet the norm or that common. Attitudes are changing for some of the women in this country in their 20s, and they're seeing something like Botox as much more routine and something you might do as part of sort of regular maintenance, like getting your hair done. But one of the things that we wanted to show when we were writing the series was that these young professional women that are in the book are finding out about the world that they're in from a completely different perspective. They are, you know, Alex is a lawyer, and so she's coming at it from quite a new direction, and we're trying to show people, I think, a little bit about what life is like for those young professional women, as well as give them an insight into a business, an industry that perhaps they're quite interested in.
So you're sort of hoping that somebody might sort of think twice about going and having something done, a bit more of a moral in there.
Well, I wouldn't say that we've tried to sort of moralise, and I think our position on cosmetic surgery, if you read the book, is fairly agnostic, really. But I think that would be sensible advice to anybody, wouldn't it? And I mean, to avoid the obvious pitfalls, make sure that you go to someone who is a recognised doctor. Make sure, if possible, that you can find a recommendation from someone who's had satisfactory surgery. Probably to avoid these stories you hear about people going abroad just because they can get it a bit cheaper. I think if this is the kind of thing you don't want to be judging on price, it's an area where you need to consider it more the quality of the treatment you're going to get rather than how cheap it is.
Now, you mentioned with these books, obviously it's a series, and Alex Fisher is first, but then you have the other ones, they can be read in any order. So they're all written and completed, I take it, and now you just sort of sit and release and promote them, if you like.
Nearly. Rachel, the second book, is complete and ready to go. The other two are nearly complete. Joanna and I are just finishing them. So the stories, though, because they are 4 interlinked stories telling a central story from different perspectives, we had to design the stories and write them before we wrote any of the books. So we designed the series of 4 and how the 4 characters would interlink and how they would work and their personalities and how they were different before we even started any of the books. So we had the whole series, and then, if you like, we wrote them to the sort of central story plan that the two of us had dreamed up.
And how does it work on a practical level, you two writing a book together?
Well, I live in Cheshire now, and Penny lives in London, so we're not next door to each other. But the way it worked was I took primary responsibility for Alex because my background is in the law, and Alex is a lawyer, and Penny took primary responsibility for Rachel. But as Penny just said, we'd already plotted the books together, done the characterisation work together, and it was a case of, by the time we sat down to write, we almost knew exactly what it was we were going to be writing. And we would write a couple of chapters, email them back and forward to each other, and cross-edit each other's work, which was great. It was a great regulator, really. So, and we're very good at taking criticism criticism from each other. Neither of us was precious about this at all. We saw it very much as a joint project. And the other thing we would do, which was a really fun part of writing, was meeting up. And we'd meet up probably every 3 or 4 weeks, chat through what we were about to write, talk again about what we'd already written and do some more editing, and have lots of fun. And we used to usually end the day with a celebratory glass of champagne or wine and get on our trains and go home. So it made it a much less lonely experience.
And you guys started this project because of a career break. Are you going back to your original career now, or have you got more writing ideas? Because it sounds like you're having a lot of fun.
We are having a lot of fun. I'm actually still doing a little bit of work for Deloitte on a freelance basis. I do some coaching for some senior professional women going for partner, just to sort of help them on career advice. So I'm sort of slightly still attached to Deloitte, so I'm not completely back, but I'm certainly not in the process of going back right this minute. We're quite busy with all of the launch. I think we're going to see how it goes. We've certainly got another year of work to do on this whole book series, and we're having a lot of fun with it. And I think if it takes off and we have ideas for 2 or 3 more series after this, that if it took off, we'd carry on with it if people wanted us to keep writing.
Well, it sounds great, and look forward to reading the 4 in this series all together. So Penny Avis and Jo Berry, thank you very much indeed for joining us, and never mind the Botox. Mixing Business with Pleasure is out.
Thanks very much.